It's great to be here at this event. It's a pleasure to address all of you uh, on this theme of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Before I actually get into the main topic of Atmanirbhar Bharat, I would like to share some global trends that you need to understand uh, and why Atmanirbhar Bharat is what the government is thinking about.
ફેન મંગાવો છો
So.
ચાલુ કરશું.
Uh, I would like to highlight a few global trends. The first global trend I would like to highlight is about nations worldwide. Uh, they are focusing more on nationalism. They are focusing more on their own economies. So there is a global trend of many nations around the world. They are implementing a lot of increasing number of protectionist policies. Uh, Even so, business environment within countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, has improved significantly. So this is a global trend that is taking place. There is a rise of nativism and racism around the world. We are seeing that there is a protracted reprise of Cold War, this time between China and United States that has taken place. Already there, uh, China has signed various MOUs for their Belt and Road Initiative. So that's a big project that is ongoing right now. Though number of nations are thinking of retracting back from that, there are economic challenges in developing regions. There is a huge advance of high technology because of the current COVID outbreak, and everything is getting more and more virtual, like was highlighted by Devanshi earlier. There's a rapid progress of artificial intelligence, robotic systems, and this is going to improve a lot of business opportunities in these areas. Smartphones, as you know, can do everything, almost everything that a computer can do. Uh, Very powerful mainframe computers are being upgraded. Uh, Large amount of connectivity between high income economies and low income economies is basically getting more disparate because of the huge pricing on smartphones, very feature rich smartphones. So this is happening. uh, there is a need to respond to climate crisis. Climate crisis is getting worse day by day. Nations need to look at that. So that's another. Fossil fuels are kind of going out of stock, I would say, and renewable energy is the key theme that is taking place in so many countries of the world. Estimates of future sea level rises. The level of the sea is rising, whereby coastal areas of the world are getting endangered over the years. It may be so that places like Mumbai may be underwater, for example. So these are some of the trends that are coming up. China is gaining their superpower status. They're getting more and more powerful. Though post-COVID, a lot of countries have been kind of imposing certain sanctions against them. Uh, and the latest trend is the COVID-19 pandemic, which has created havoc in the business world. Even now, there are a number of economies that are going into further lockdowns, and that is what we are seeing in today's world. So these are some of the, I would say, the key signposts that are visible in this world as of today, and these are some of think of when we look at Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Uh, that is this is the background of what is going on in the world. So coming to our main topic of Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. Next slide, please. So this is something that our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Bhai Modi has announced way back in the month of May. On May 12th, he announced in his address to the nation, he announced economic package of 20 trillion to tide over the corona virus crisis and under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So this is when this was first announced. The economic crisis is triggered by the corona pandemic, which started in 2019, and this is what gave birth to this Abhiyan. Uh, so he said that the economic package would play an important role in making India self-reliant. And this is what Atmanirbhar actually means. It means that we want to be more and more self-reliant. It would benefit laborers, farmers, honest taxpayers, uh, MSMEs, and cottage industry, and now also I would say with the 3.0 version of Atmanirbhar Bharat mission coming up, I would say it could also benefit businesses if they leverage some of the aspects that have been rolled out, and we will look at some of these aspects of Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. Next slide. Next slide. You can just skip this. Yeah. So the five pillar Bharat is to be based. You can see in the slide above. It's about economy, infrastructure, system, demography, and demand. So an economy that brings quantum jump rather than incremental change. That is what is expected out of this. An infrastructure that becomes the identity of modern India. That is the vision. A system that is driven by technology which can fulfill the dreams of the 21st century, a system not based on the policy of the past century, a system that is based on a new policy. Demography. Our vibrant demography is our strength in the world's largest democracy, our source of energy for self-reliant India. We have such a huge economy, we have such a huge, I would say, population that we should leverage that population and create a huge economy within our country itself. Demand. Uh, the cycle of demand and supply chain in our economy is a strength that needs to be harnessed to its full potential. So these are the five major pillars on which Atmanirbhar Bharat is to be based and is being based. Next slide. So what comes under Atmanirbhar Bharat? According to government, it's all about self-reliance. It does not advocate a self-centered protectionist system, though a lot of people feel that it does. But the idea is self-reliance. Next slide. So there's a lot of controversy around Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. There are a lot of people who are against it. There are a lot of statements that are being made which are against this mission. Some have called Atmanirbhar Bharat as a repackaged version of Make in India drive, using new taglines such as "Vocal for Local." So there's a lot of controversy about this Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. The government has said self-reliant India does not mean cutting off from rest of the world. They feel that they want to definitely attract businesses, global businesses, multinational companies to come and set up their enterprises within our country. So it's not really about cutting off from the rest of the world. It's about attracting businesses, attracting talent. It's about attracting talent from around the world to come in here and create that business and then supply to our economy and of course the economy abroad. So it's all about being self-reliant, but it doesn't mean cutting off from the world. Some opposition members have spoken about how India has enacted policies and built companies since its creation to make India self-reliant. So, some people do think, for example, we have SAIL for steel production, we have IITs for domestic engineers, we have AIMS for medical sciences, we have DRDO for defense research, all Indian companies, government companies that have been created to make us BPCL, NTPC, and GAIL in the area of energy. So we have these government companies that have been internally within our country advertising tactics in the repackage scheme. Some have also panned the scheme rephrased as "Fend for Yourself" campaign. So a lot of criticism and a lot of controversy around this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Next slide. So a number of initiatives that have come up out of this Atmanirbhar Abhiyan, and this is changing the definition of MSMEs, boosting scope for private participation in numerous sectors, increasing FDI, like I told you, attracting foreign direct investment, different businesses, different industries. The vision has found support in many sectors, such as solar manufacturer sector, and I did talk about renewable energy as a trend, a worldwide trend. So this is in support of that. So the growth of India's personal protective equipment sector from zero in March to 450,000 pieces a day by the beginning of July. This is a clear example of how India can be self-reliant. So these are some examples where we are becoming more and more self-reliant. Mukesh Ambani announced in mid-July that Jio has created a complete 5G solution from scratch that will enable us to launch a world-class 5G service in India using 100% homegrown technologies and solutions. Again, an indication that this is being more self-reliant. In August 2020, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh announced that the Defense Ministry is now ready for a big push initiative by imposing an import embargo on 101 items in a staged manner over a period of 5 years. Everything is going towards self-reliance, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So a lot of these different initiatives, India will be self-reliant in fertilizer production. This is what Sadananda Gowda he mentioned in September 2020. All these statements, all these policies going towards a more self-reliant India. Uh, in coir industry, for example, Udyami Yojana aims to develop the coir-related industries sustainable development. So, so many sectors, so many different areas of businesses, industries, where India is clearly and the government is clearly saying that we need to be self-reliant. Next slide. So there are a number of initiatives that have been taken, and we are looking at Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0, which was recently announced. So on 12th November, which is just the last month, the Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman, announced about 12 new fresh stimulus measures that can be called the subsequent step in the series of stimulus announcements. So the intent of this announcement is to give a much needed boost to COVID-19 hit economy, to COVID-19 hit businesses, industries within India, and to stimulate employment, because employment is definitely at an all-time low in our country, and this really needs some stimulus, needs some encouragement so that more of our youngsters and existing employees who have lost their jobs can again be onboarded and put into employment. So, prolonging the deadline for CLGS scheme, which is the credit line guarantee scheme, upgrading the housing infrastructure. There are a number of these initiatives that have been announced in Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0. So, one of the objectives behind the recent announcements is to lend benefit of to individuals as well as to companies and businesses. And people who have lost their jobs, they need to get their jobs back again, and things need to improve. So the objective is to lend benefit to both individuals and companies overall, and to boost the economy, to take steps against the liquidity crunch that is right now being faced by a lot of businesses in India. So these 12 new fresh stimulus measures is what we have come across recently in the last month. Next slide. So there are some slogans, like I told you, which were initiated under the Atmanirbhar Bharat. These include vocal for local and make for the world. So let's take the first one, vocal for local. Not only should products be made in India, but the promotion of these products should take place so as to make these products competitive. During the Independence Day speech in 2020, Prime Minister Modi said that the mindset of Free India should be vocal for local. We should appreciate our local products. If we don't do this, then our products will not get the opportunity to do better and will not get encouraged. We need to boost our own economy. We need to prefer our own country's manufactured products. We need to make a conscious effort that we really boost the production of our businesses and increase the demand for those products that are being produced by Indian industries. So the phrase vocal for local meant that products be made competitive vis-a-vis global brands, and that it didn't mean that one must only buy products that have a logo made in India on it. An extension of this slogan is local for global, that local products in India should have global appeal and reach. So that's the local for global, that whatever products we are manufacturing should also have a global reach, should have a global recognition, and should also cater to that global market. So that's about that. Make for the world, the third one. Prime Minister Modi, during the 2020 independence speech, said that Make for the world should go hand in hand with Make in India. And that the slogan Make for the world should be a key slogan, like Make in India is. A variation of the slogan is Make in India for the world, which means that we will basically make products and sell them across the world. That appeal for our products should be there. The demand should be created for our products in the world. Next slide. Next slide. So this calls for India to boycott Chinese products and promote an Atma Nirbhar Bharat instead. So these are practically difficult in the short term for India, as India imports 75 billion worth of goods every year from China. To the extent that part of Indian. So, following the Galwan Valley skirmish on 15 June 2020, in which around 40 Chinese soldiers and 20 Indian soldiers died, Swadeshi Jagran Manch said that if the government was serious about making India self-reliant, Chinese companies should not be given projects such as Delhi, Meerut, RRTS. So the results of the boycott China movement started showing in early August, and with government of China's customs data showing that Chinese exports to India had fallen by 25% as compared to the same period in 2019 last year. So there has been an impact of on the import from China, uh, which is I think in the long run it is impractical to have a total boycott on Chinese products, but definitely there has been a uh, movement towards reduced usage, increased self-reliance, reduced reliance on Chinese products. So there has been some trend on that. Next slide. So if we can see Atmanirbhar Bharat 1.0 and 2.0 focus, which was earlier in the year, the focus was more about one nation, one ration card, street vendor loans, credit boost to farmers, working capital for farmers, liquidity scheme for NBFCs and HFCs, housing finance companies, liquidity scheme for discoms, the electricity distribution companies, etc. About 25,000 crores provided as additional capital expenditure to Ministry of Road Transport and Ministry of Defense, basically to increase purchase in defense and also to boost infrastructure. So these were the kind of investments that were announced. 11 states had been sanctioned about 3621 crores as interest-free loans towards capital expenditure. So a lot of focus on capital expenditure, a lot of focus on uh, big projects that the states could do that can be done on the national level to boost the economy. And obviously, any investment, capital investment that is done, definitely triggers a lot of number of industries because of the different kind of products that are purchased for those capital expenditures. So this was the focus of Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat 1.0 and 2.0. Next slide. 3.0. And so Atmanirbhar 3.0 came up with a series of announcements. So one of
I guess there is a network issue from Mr. Tejas Sura side. Uh, just hold back. We will be getting back to that.
I think I'm back. I'm unable to start my video. I think, but I can continue with my
It's okay.
presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Please continue.
So yeah.
Great.
So a new scheme, Atmanirbhar Bharat, was basically announced. Uh, yeah. So this is a new scheme that has been launched. About 3 lakh crores existing. I think. Yeah. So the first one is about employment, Bharat Rozgar Yojana, and this is about employment. This is for encouraging creation of new employment opportunities during COVID recovery phase. Government would take care of PF payments up to 24% for the next 2 years, which is a big contribution, I would say, for the government. Of course, there is some, I would say, some prerequisite for that, but definitely the scheme is very good. The second is 3 lakh crore existing emergency credit line guarantee scheme. So this is another one. This is for eligible entities are MSMEs, units, business enterprises, individual loans for business purposes, and Mudra borrowers. So this is another one. The third one is guarantee credit for supporting stressed sectors, and this is to be utilized for 100% guaranteed collateral free additional credit. So that's what this is about. Then we have Atmanirbhar manufacturing production linked incentives for 13 champion sectors. Three were already announced. Another 10 champion sectors were announced in this. There's an additional outlay for PM Awas Yojana Urban, and so this is another announcement. So this is basically announcing support for construction infrastructure and those kind of things. Uh, so there's a definite I would say, initiative to boost the construction infrastructure sector. The residential sector is not doing very well. Real estate is not doing well. So there is some income tax relief there, and the government is targeting to increase the investment in real estate purchases. So there's some tax relief for developers and home buyers to encourage the real estate sector. So definitely the government is looking at construction infrastructure, real estate sector in a big way. Next slide. There is also support for 65,000 crores for subsidized fertilizers. That's for agriculture. Platform for infra debt financing has come up. There's a boost for project exports, boost for rural employment. So a lot of these initiatives are geared towards improving our economy, providing employment to a lot of people in our country because they have lost jobs. And then there's a capital and industrial stimulus. About 10,200 crores additional budget outlay will be provided towards capital and industrial expenditure. Domestic defense equipment, like I told you, the industrial incentives, industrial infrastructure, and there's a boost towards green energy. So that's again in line with what I told you, the world trend on alternative energies. So total additional expenditure is 265,000 crores of expenditure, which was announced in Atmanirbhar 3.0. And I would say a lot of the Atmanirbhar 3.0 is geared more towards giving incentivizing the businesses, and businesses should definitely take advantage as much as possible to improve their, I would say, economic performance, to also improve their liquidity, to also improve their credit position, and so on. So a lot of, I think, companies need to look at Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0 in a serious way and see what are the different ways by which they could benefit in this, because the whole idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat is it's all about improving employment, support to businesses, ease of doing business, and also a lot of support to state governments. There's a lot of focus on sectors such as education and health also. So definitely a lot of improvement happening in these areas. So I would say with this background on Atmanirbhar Bharat, I would strongly encourage businesses to take advantage of these schemes that have been floated by the government, employ more people, try to increase your business, market yourself very well, increase the business, employ more people, take advantage of what the grants that the government is giving under the scheme, and make the most of it. Lot of focus also on COVID vaccine development in this. Government has taken it seriously that we need to really address this issue of the COVID infection, though our performance has been great compared to the world. So I would say with this, I would like to end my keynote address here, that what the government is doing for India is just fantastic. Next slide. There are some unfinished reforms in this Bharat agenda. For example, if you see the civil service reform, the steel frame has become really a steel cage for us right now. The government is really protecting, I would say. So, so there needs to be some civil service reforms. Government reform, Delhi doesn't need to have 57 ministries and 250 people with secretary rank. So I think some reform has to be done in the way the government is structured. Financial reforms, sustainably raising credit to GDP ratio from 50% to 100% is, I think, something that the government should look at. In terms of urban reforms, having 100 cities with more than a million people rather than having lesser cities, 50 cities. I think so. That's something that government needs to really boost and have more and more cities, have more and more industries around these cities to increase, our economic performance. Education reform, I would say our current regulator confuses university buildings with building universities. So I think this is something that we should see: build more universities, increase the education, increase the skill levels of our people. Because what I hear from the industry is that really we don't get I would say, supply of skilled manpower. They still need to be polished. They still need to be trained by the industry. So definitely education is one reform that requires. Of course, the government has come up with a new education policy, but let us see how it really gets implemented. Skill reforms. Our apprenticeship regulations are holding back employers and universities. I think a boost needs to be given there. And labor reform. Our capital is handicapped without labor, and labor is handicapped without capital. So definitely some labor reforms should be looked at by the government. I know there's a lot of resistance for making any change in our country, but I think this government, with its majority status at the national level, it has a mandate to make some really big, I would say, challenging changes for our nation in a positive manner. And I think this government should look at that in a big way. With that, I would like to close my session. And I hope I've given a good overview of what's going on in the world, and how Atmanirbhar is also kind of aligned to what's going on in the world, what the world needs, the problems of the issues of the world, and how our government is addressing to a certain extent, not to a fuller extent, but a certain extent, through some of these schemes that they are announcing, intermittently. So thank you very much for having me here. Meenakshi ji,
Thank you. Thank you all of you for the participating in today's Friday evening talk. Due to some last minute emergency, the current speaker which we have identified for today's talk has cancelled the Friday evening talk. And that's the reason that we have shown the video presentation of the last year roundtable conference Atmnirbhar Bharat 3.0 and presentation by very renowned and popular speaker Mr. Tejas Shura. Hope so everybody you have enjoyed today's presentation. At the same time, just I wish to announce the upcoming very mega event. Everybody knows, and you know the this event AAOIOM Annual Award of Outstanding Young Manager. This competition will be organized between the 23rd March to 26th March, absolutely in person mode. And this year, again, we are planning to invite the many corporate from the Gujarat and outside Gujarat also. Hope so you and more team wherever you contact. Thank you. See you next Friday, same time. Goodbye. Good night.